So in this lesson, we're going to go ahead and grab the Nvidia plugin for Photoshop so we can create normal maps based on our rope twine texture. So I'm going to open up a web browser here and I'm going to just search for Nvidia Photoshop plugin. And that should bring up our Nvidia texture tools for Adobe Photoshop. And you're going to go ahead and click that link. And once it comes up, you can go ahead and select download. And once I click download, it's going to take me to the download center and give us a second to load up. And what I want is the texture tools for Adobe Photoshop. So now you're going to have to pick your Windows version. So if I have Windows 64-bit or Windows 32-bit, I will go ahead and select Windows 64-bit and save the file. Give that a minute to download. Once that's done downloading, you just go ahead and click it and click run. And it's going to say a version of Adobe Photoshop is already installed, and to continue, setup will need to uninstall the previous version. I'll go ahead and click OK. If you already have it installed, you're going to be informed right there. Now it's going to go ahead and uninstall it for me, and now it's going to reinstall it. So I got to give it a minute. And it says welcome, so I just click next. I'll accept the terms. I will say no, I don't want to subscribe. And I'll go ahead and click next. It's going to register my product. Oh. Well, I guess I gotta type in an organization name, so I will type in Brain Poof, and that's fine. No, I don't want to subscribe. Click next. This is all pretty straightforward. I'm gonna say, where is your base directory? It should detect your Photoshop location. If it doesn't, you need to browse to the base directory. It should be Adobe Photoshop CS6 or your version 32-bit or 64-bit, wherever your version is. It'll auto-detect it should. If it doesn't, you'll have to manually change it. Once it finds it, you go ahead and click next, and you go ahead and click install. And here it's going to install the plugin for Photoshop. Now the link, and I'm just going to uncheck this box and click finish. Now the link for this I will provide below the video for this page that I'm looking at right now, this download page. You should be able to find the link. In fact, it's not going to be that download page, it will be this page here. I'll provide a link to this page here, so I'm just going to minimize this and I'll make sure to add this link to this download location so you can download it. And minimize that. And now that it's installed, I can go ahead and reopen Photoshop. And Photoshop is going to have the Nvidia plugin for me. The new plugin is going to be in filter, and you'll see Nvidia tools. Right now we can't access it because we don't have a file open. So let's go ahead and open up our rope texture. So I'm going to go to the Maya Sword tutorial, open up our source images is where I moved it to. I moved the rope base to this. And I'm going to go ahead and double click this. No, that's not the one. I want the UV snap rope. There it is. And I'll go ahead and close this. I saved these. I moved these UV snap rope into the source images folder. So if you want to stay on par with what I'm doing, you can go to your images folder and you should only have UV testing, your testing UV texture in here. Everything else should be in your source images folder. So now that I have this open, I need to make some adjustments for it before I can turn it into a normal map. First thing I want to do is I want to unhide the UV snapshot. So go ahead and hide that. And you want to select your background, right click, and just select flatten image. It'll say discard hidden layers. I'm going to say OK. That's fine. And I need to remove the saturation from this so it's black and white. I'll go ahead and click on hue and saturation. And I'll just drag the saturation all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say flatten the image. That's pretty good right there. Now additionally, this is something you'll have to test yourself. You can go up to filter, go to other, and select high pass and determine if you want to use a high pass. I think I'm going to use a high pass because I think it will look nice on this texture. So I'm going to set this to a 60.70 pixels and add a high pass to this. Now with high pass added, I'll just go up here to filter, drop down to Nvidia tools, and I'm going to select normal map filter, and I'm going to get this pop-up window. Now your options will probably be a little bit different than mine. You can check my options here and set yours up the same. I'm going to do a wrap at 9.9 and a scale of 3. Okay, so you always want to check wrap when you're creating a tangent normal, and you want it to be, you can decide your filter type. I prefer to go with 9:9. I'm going to do a scale of 3 with average RGB and the alpha field unchanged. And I have animate light checked, which is kind of pointless since what I'm doing, but anyways, I'll just leave that alone. And I'll go ahead and click OK. And give it a second to think. and it's going to produce a normal map when it's done. And you'll notice that this normal map is going to look really weird. It's going to be sort of a blue hue. And I'll explain what's happening and why that's a blue hue. And once that's done processing, you'll get this interesting blue hue. Now I'm going to go up to channels. I'm going to explain what's happening here. What you're seeing is 3 bump maps layered on top of one another. That's what's happening. That's why you get a blue hue, is because if I were to just click on red, you'll see I have an X bump map, a Y bump map, and a Z bump map. And that's exactly what's happening there. Is you have 3 different channels, and it's 3 bump maps layered on top of one another that correspond to X, Y, and Z in a 3D environment. That's really all that's happened. Nothing special. This is our normal map. Now I can analyze this and determine if I want these lines to be a little bit more in depth. So I could always hit Control Alt and hit Z. So I'll go ahead and go all the way back to where I've just saturated it. Go to levels, and I'll raise the mids, lower the highs just a tad bit to make it a bit more prominent, and then I'll right click, go ahead and flatten the image. And I might even add, I'll go to filter, go to blur, and I'm going to add a very light Gaussian blur. Just a very, very, very light one. Maybe something right about 2. Looks pretty good to me. I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I'll add the high pass. So I'm going to go to filter, other, add a high pass. That's good right there. Then I'll go ahead and click OK. And now I'll run my normal map. So Nvidia Tools, normal map, and click OK. You'll notice it saved my settings. Now, why did I do all that? Why did I run it once and then go back? I'd make adjustments and then do it again. Well, I want to see the outcome, and I have to determine if I like the outcome. If I don't like the outcome, I'll go back and I'll do it again. I'll make some adjustments, rerun the normal map filter, and create a new normal map until I get something looking at it visually. I think this is going to look nice. And then you can put it into Maya, which we'll cover here in a moment, on how to analyze what you think the outcome is going to look like. Do you like the outcome? And if you don't, you can come back and create another normal map and do it until you get the normal map looking how you want it to look. So I think this looks pretty good right here. I think I can work with this. So I'm going to go ahead and save this out. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to go into the source images, and I'm going to change this to a JPEG. So change to a JPEG. And I want this to be the rope underscore in, because this is for normal. So now we have our rope diffuse, and we also have a rope underscore in. Go ahead and click Save and click OK. That's going to save that out. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and apply our twine texture and normal map to the handle of our sword and take a look at how that turned out before we move on to projection. If you have any questions or comments, please post below the video on brainpoof.com and click subscribe to follow us on YouTube.